Hi everyone, this is Nigel Merrick, the founder of the Xenolog Photography Business and Marketing blog. Today I'm thrilled to talk with Sarah Petty from The Joy of Marketing about the forthcoming release of a new book, Worth Every Penny, which Sarah has co-authored with her business partner Erin Verbeck. Sarah is well known in the photography industry, not just as a great photographer with one of the most profitable studios in America, but also as a thought leader in marketing, branding, and sales. And we share many of the same ideals when it comes to educating photographers on the benefits of applying sound and proven business strategies. So, without any further ado, I'd like to say a big welcome to you, Sarah. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's always great to chat with you. Now, before we get into the details about your new book, can you give us a really quick history for those who might not be familiar with The Joy of Marketing?
Sure. Well, the Joy of Marketing was really created out of demand from photographers to learn more of what I was doing in my studio. My background, I started my career at Coca-Cola, and then I worked at an advertising agency for years helping small businesses. And it was natural for me to want to reach out and help photographers. And I found I was traveling so much with three small children that I decided, you know what, I'm going to start a company and start teaching some online and creating products so that I can help all of these photographers without leaving home so much. And it just has grown like crazy.
Yeah, as these things tend to do.
Yeah.
So your book is called Worth Every Penny, Build a Business That Thrills Your Customers and Still Charge What You're Worth. And that's a very exciting prospect for today's small business owner, I'm sure. So what made you sit down to write the book? How did it get started?
Gosh, Erin and I really had talked about this book for years and kind of had it in our brains. And we really didn't find a publisher that resonated with us, and so we kind of had it on the back burner. And then we came across kind of a boutique publishing company. They're not one of the big names, but they got what we were looking for, and they offered a lot of support because we've never written a book. We knew what we wanted it to say, and we had the content, but they really gave us a lot of guidance, which we needed. We wanted to make sure our message got out there in the right way with the right name and the right cover and fonts, and we got to be involved in all of that. And so once we met them, we thought, you know what, it's time. The message is relevant now. People are struggling with this, and so let's go for it.
It's quite a daunting prospect to sit down and commit to putting everything that you have down on paper, as it were, and trying to get all that organized. And so I can definitely understand how you how you felt getting started with that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the key points in the book is, and this, I know this is at the beginning of the book, says that boutique is a business model, not a gift shop. And I really like that statement because I think it really, for me at least, it distinguishes the photographer from being just a sort of a fancy little shop to being a more serious type of business model. But, can you explain a little bit about what that means exactly and what it means specifically for today's professional photographer?
Yeah, definitely. So, we talk a lot about that filter through which you make decisions. It's sort of that boutique filter. And this book actually started as an ebook that we had up on our website, and we got so many comments from photographers saying, oh my gosh, this describes me, but I didn't know it had a name, and I was missing several steps of this process. So they were the type of photographer who was spending a bunch of time with their clients and doing all these custom beautiful things and giving it all of the attention and the detail that a higher volume, low price driven business can't do. And they said, I didn't know there was a name, and I'm doing certain things wrong. Like they're subscribing to some of these aggressive discounting philosophies that people, like the Groupon salespeople, try to tell you, oh, you'll attract these clients, and they'll try you, and they'll love you, and then they'll forever be your client. But what we know is that that's not what happens when you deeply discount. So we really talk a lot in the book about that filter and running it through, all of your business decisions through that filter and coming up with a way to make great decisions and have it be consistent with your brand. So you're going to have cooler marketing and you're going to have more custom products and everything's going to be different, but then your prices are not going to be the lowest in town.
Right. So it's not just a case of just having pretty packaging or that kind of thing. This is more of a philosophy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it encompasses every part of your business, from your branding to your marketing and your promotion and your sales strategy and the experience, how much time you can spend with those clients and all the things you can do. If you're pushed to get in heavy volume, you're not going to be able to do the things that you want to do to really pamper your clients.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I quite agree. And is there such a thing as being half boutique? I mean, in other words, is it possible to adopt some of the strategies and tactics of operating a boutique business while retaining some of the more, I guess you might call them traditional methods?
Sure. I mean, I think there's a scale. It's not like you are 100% boutique or you're 100% not boutique. We see a lot of the big stores trying to do some of the boutique things, but we know that they can't pull it off. I love to shop at the store Anthropologie, but they don't have a relationship with me. They can't call me up. Now, they could have a really aggressive salesperson that gets to know me and does those certain things, but we have such an advantage being a small business that we can do those things. But if you're a photographer and maybe you're not as boutique as, say, my studio is, you can still look at some of these policies and these procedures, like the sales process, and being able to create products for your current clients instead of always looking at new clients, more clients, more clients. Some of those strategies would work very well for any type of small business.
You mentioned something in there that went by really quickly that I think is quite important as far as distinguishing boutique from non-boutique, and that is the idea of being able to give your clients personal attention on a much more intimate level than, say, a larger business can.
Yes. So as a small business, we are so close to our clients. We have the ability to build rapport with them. We have the ability to do a complete needs analysis, so we can find out how old their kids are and what's happening in their life. We're Facebook friends with them, so we can listen to what's going on in their life when they get pregnant or their sister's having a baby, things like that. It affords us the opportunity to be able to reach out and send a personal note with a gift certificate. So it's micro marketing at its finest, while the big box stores and the big chains and all these companies try to do those things. We have the ability as small businesses to really spend time doing those things, keeping a database and knowing the faces and names on our database.
Now, setting yourself up as a brand is obviously essential for something like a boutique business. Well, I mean, it's essential for pretty much for any kind of business, but I guess it's even more important for a boutique. And what can photographers do to get this right from the beginning?
One of the biggest things that photographers can do to get this right is to figure out what their specialty is, what makes them different, what their style is, and then work with a professional graphic designer to come up with the logo, the graphic, the identity marks, the color palette, the design elements, all of these things that become part of who you are. It's like you could reinvent yourself. When you go to college, you decide you're going to be dress a little more sassy, or you're going to be a little more this or a little more that, but you're still true to who you are. And so graphic designer is going to create a fresh version of who you are and what makes you different. And I think that's so important for all of us to remember, that sometimes you do have to make that investment, and a graphic designer is the best way to ensure that your investment in your business is going to create that strong brand and give you that solid foundation.
Yes, and it is an investment. It really is, and I hear from a lot of my coaching students that well, I can't afford to put money into that. I'd rather just get started and get out there and start shooting photographs and that kind of thing, and I'll maybe get to my graphic designer later on. What can we say to them to kind of try and shift that focus back to where it needs to be?
Yeah, it's funny because I hear that a lot too. I don't have a budget. I don't want to put any money in. Well, and then I look at what people are wearing, and they're wearing $200 blue jeans, or really cute clothes, a designer purse. Well, what's a $300 purse going to do for you in a year, or 2 years, or 3 years? It's going to do nothing for you. And so you've got to look at your priorities, and if you're going to stand out among other people, there are certain times when you need to make an investment. And I'm a big believer in bootstrapping. I'm not the kind that says, go out there and you need a $30,000 loan to get started. I firmly believe that your business should sustain all the investments that you need to make. But when you're just getting started, that may mean getting a job bartending 2 nights a week, or 2 nights a month on a busy night where you can make really good tips so that you can justify this. It may mean doing some of it in trade and doing some photography for a graphic designer. I mean, there are ways to make this happen without just taking a loan or borrowing money from someone. Make it a goal to earn that. It's not like it's $30,000 to get a great logo. But if you're going to survive in business, you've got to be able to be thrifty sometimes. And I get it. I'm not just a person who has this unlimited budget and I can go buy everything I want. I just look at my numbers every month and I budget for things when I want them and I find a way to make it happen. And what you got to remember is you've got all these competitors out there who are doing those things, who are making those investments, and that's what's going to separate the photographers who can charge more and create a thriving business, and those that are commodity photographers and they're just shooting for basically their cost plus a little bit more.
Now, I know some people listening to this might be thinking, oh gosh, I've been in business for 5 years or more, but now I know I've been doing it all wrong. What can I do to rebrand myself? Do I have to start all over again from scratch?
That's a really good question, and there isn't a really simple answer. But if someone is sure that they've done it wrong, like I picked a name that wasn't me, I picked a bad logo, or you bought the company and you realized it had all these problems and a negative perception, the best thing you can do is go through a process where you really dig deep into who you are and what your true strengths are. Work with that graphic designer to create a new look and a feel and a brand, and then launch it. So you don't just keep some things with the old logo. You've got to get rid of everything old and come out with everything new, and that takes an investment. That's why I tell people you might as well get it right the first time, because if you have to redo it, it will cost more money. You're throwing away letterheads sometimes, or envelopes, or things like that. You need signage, you need packaging, you need everywhere your logo is, business cards, all of those kind of things have to reflect the new logo. And it can be a positive and it can propel your business, but it also can hurt your business if you don't do it right.
Right. So for those people who do feel that they have to rebrand, it's a case of you've got to do everything together. You can't just do like a piece here and a piece there. It's really, you've got to sort of treat the whole thing as one package.
Yes.
Okay. And and there's a perception generally that boutique products and services are worth more than those from what you might call the traditional business model, even if they're offering the same or similar products. And if we were to dissect the boutique business, where would we find some of the actual differences in value? And I think we've alluded to some of them already, but perhaps we can just try and list a few of those.
Well, sure, because in the absence of value, that's where price becomes an issue. So if people are just looking online and they're checking every photographer, what do they cost, what do they cost? They're going to say, well, I checked everybody's 8x10, and I'm going to go with this person because they're the least expensive. Or maybe they're too cheap, so I'm going to go with the next person because that first person's just too cheap. So we don't know what they make that decision on. But all the things we can do to create value for our brand start with our logo. All of our branding materials are consistent, our website. Little things like having your email, Sarah@sarahpetty.com instead of Sarah@gmail.com or yahoo.com. That doesn't make you seem like a real business. So you're actually reducing the value of your business. So you got to look at all those little details, and we go through some checklists in the book for you to look and see if you're creating some disconnects there. But then it's in the experience you give your clients, the attention you give them, the fact that you do a needs analysis, the fact that your products are completely different or very different or customizable or extra special. And some of that is your talent, some of it is the materials, a lot of it is the process and the experience. And then, of course, the marketing and the promotional pieces. We invest a lot each year in having the coolest holiday card that goes out in my market. Because if I have my card sitting on the mantle with everyone else in town, I sure as heck want it to be the coolest one. I'm not just sending a 5x7 slimline card to my clients. So all of those things you do creates value. If you speak in your market, you do charitable marketing, all of those things really matter. Being involved in your community, in fundraisers, people see you as a high-quality, valuable business. So it's not just about what you sell, because I know, especially in the photography industry, everyone's thinking, well, I sell the same 8x10 sheet of paper that you sell, so what makes us different? But there are a lot of things that make you different.
Absolutely. And a lot of these things are quite intangible and come under that umbrella that we might call authenticity and being genuine and genuinely caring about the people that we serve and giving them a positive experience that they want to share then with their friends and family. So there's an awful lot to it other than just actual monetary value of the products that we offer and the packaging even that we put them in. So getting this right is not as simple as just waking up tomorrow and then declaring oneself to be a boutique studio. And I'm sure that there are some things that can go wrong along the way. What can photographers do to avoid some of the challenges in running a boutique business?
I think the very best thing that photographers can do, and any business owner for that matter, is to understand their numbers. I look at my cost of sale every single week, like I mentioned, and it sounds so scary, like math and numbers, but once you understand them, and they're not even that hard, then you start to make those better decisions, and you can say, okay, I want to create a really gorgeous promotional piece. What is my budget? What can I get for that budget? And how can I maximize that investment? So you're not just winging it and saying, well, I'm a boutique business, so I'm going to go buy all the best of everything. Well, then you don't have the cash flow to pay your bills. So it's all about understanding what goes into those numbers, and then you'll realize, okay, I'm not going to make my goals if this is what I'm charging. And a lot of times it comes down to understanding how to charge and learning how to sell so that you can thrill your clients and earn the money that you're worth. And so your clients come, they love you, they refer you, and they say she or he was worth every penny.
So, and you mentioned cost of goods and cost of sales, which leads me into the subject of pricing. And, this is something that's always at the front of photographers' minds, and I have spirited discussions about it every day with my own coaching students. For example, many of them are literally scared to death of raising their fees to what they should be charging. And so how does the philosophy of pricing fit into the boutique business model? I know you've alluded to it a little bit already.
Yeah, so we start with a cost-based pricing structure, which is where you're basing what you charge on your costs. So you make sure your costs are within a certain percentage. Maybe they're 22%, 24%. And Studio Management Services with the Professional Photographers of America has an amazing benchmark study that they've created to give photographers a resource of what those numbers should be, kind of a benchmark. But then we take it to the next level by creating what we call demand-based pricing, where you are going out there and you're creating demand for your products and services. So it's about getting in front of the right clients. It's about not just attracting people by price, because then you're going to get the wrong people. They're going to complain. They're going to beat you up, order the minimum, and you're going to question your business model. So this is demand-based pricing is where you go out there and you make it happen. So you co-market with other businesses, you partner with charities, you speak to groups in your market, you get great sales skills.
Marketing strategies, for this particular type of business model, you just mentioned some of them already, but are there any other major differences or new ways that you can market a boutique business perhaps that are more suitable for that type of model?
Well, as far as promoting, for creating ways to promote, our philosophy with the boutique business model is a little different. So our philosophy is, instead of taking your budget, which is 8 to 10% of your projected gross sales, and instead of taking that and trying to do everything under the sun with it, or perhaps mailing 3,000 or 30,000 postcards to strangers, we say take that same amount of money and do something higher touch, more engaging, more beautiful, more elaborate, more custom. And that's what's going to attract the right clients. So it's not like we're saying, okay, boutique businesses, you have to spend half of your income on marketing because you're going to get better clients. It's still the same amount of budget that's invested. It's just done with a completely different philosophy.
Right. So it's the approach that's different, maybe not so much the tactics. Some of the tactics may remain the same, but it's the philosophy and the approach behind it that is different in the thinking process.
Yeah, because you're really, with your marketing and your promotion, you are sampling your business. So if you think of your favorite restaurant that you go to, say it's the one fancy one that you go to for birthdays and special occasions, and the food is amazing, and it's probably a little more expensive, so you don't go there all the time. Suppose you saw them at a street fair, and they were handing out samples of bread and butter. And you walked up and you would say, what are you doing? And they say, well, we only had a certain amount of budget, and we want to feed as many people as we can. Well, what message is that sending? It's not a true representation of what you get, and you're not necessarily appealing to the right people. Maybe you're getting people that are just hungry. But it's the same thing. So when you're promoting a business where you're high touch and you're giving tons of love and you're super creative and you're amazing and talented and custom, and then you go out and you sample yourself with an ugly, cheap, generic postcard that looks like every other photographer, what message does that send to the consumer?
Yeah, it doesn't send a very good one.
No, it's not consistent.
Right. I mean, it might be a good message if that's the market you want to serve, but if it's not consistent with what you actually want to do, then yes, that's not a good thing. Now, this idea of high touch, I like that phrase, and I'm a big believer in cultivating good client relationships, and so I expect that this fits in very well with the boutique business model, as we've already talked about. But what general advice do you have about building and managing email lists and email marketing in general as it applies to this particular type of business?
Absolutely. But I think it's not necessarily just email lists. I think it's your overall client database. I think sometimes people think, oh, email marketing has got the quick, easy answer, or Facebook marketing is the quick, easy answer. That's one part of it, but we got to remember and look at people's lives from their viewpoint. Do you really want to hear from your photographer every other month, every week about something they have going on? No. So we have to figure out what's the right amount of time to reach out to people and to engage with them. I'm a big believer in getting that database and knowing everyone on it. So if you're newer and you have 50 people on your database or you have 500 people, go through that database now and then and look on Facebook and see what you can learn about people. That's high-touch marketing. Yes, you can get in your database and send out an email or send out a mass mailing to everyone, but you can bring it down to the high-touch personal level by going out there once a month maybe and going through your client database and just reading what's happening in everyone's lives, commenting, sending graduation cards, sending gifts, sending flowers if you see that one of your clients lost a parent. Being thoughtful and caring just like you would a friend, because the big stores can't do that, and many of your competitors are either too lazy because they don't want to do that much work, or they don't deem it's important and they're going to mail postcards to as many people as they can and build their business. So I think that the more things you can do in your business that are high touch and harder, take more time, take more energy, that's going to give you an advantage.
Absolutely. And, of course, Facebook is a fantastic tool for this type of high touch marketing with your clients. But I think it's worth noting that people must at all costs avoid making mistakes, like, for example, kind of hijacking people's birthdays as an excuse to put a marketing message on their Facebook page and that kind of thing. I know that businesses have done that to me in the past. Like when it was my birthday, they just splatter, marketing messages all over my wall, and it just comes across as a little bit ingenuine. So
very much, yeah, that's a great example, because Facebook is a private, personal space. So when companies start coming in and doing heavy selling, people don't like it. So when people say, is it a good marketing tool, they're asking, can I go on there and put a message and get a bunch of business? No. But it is a good marketing tool because you have access to people's inner thoughts and feelings. You can learn a lot about them. So it's not a place to walk into this party, start handing out business cards and sale flyers. It's about a genuine note. Sometimes we don't even post on their wall. We'll just write them a personal note or a sincere sympathy card or things like that. Maybe we learn the information on Facebook, but again, there's that fine line between people need to be comfortable in the place where they're hanging out, and you're lucky as a marketer to be able to be invited in that space. So you don't want to abuse it or take advantage of it.
Right, indeed. Now, I know that some people, making the transition to a boutique type of business, I suppose it's possible when they raise their fees and they make all these different changes in their business that they might notice a lull in the number of clients that they have, at least at the beginning when they're starting up. And I can imagine that this might cause a little bit of fear and anxiety about whether or not they've made the right decision. They're kind of in mid-leap, as it were. What advice can you give them to encourage them to push beyond that and keep on that path?
It's definitely scary. We all have felt that fear at some point in our careers of raising prices too high or scaring people off. But the key is getting out there and stirring it up and making it happen. And I think especially for photographers, we have a really big advantage because we can always go out there and shoot in spec. So that means we shoot, and when people see it, they have the opportunity to buy. If you're selling cars or you're a retailer selling women's clothing, if it storms for months or if it, depending on weather or whatever is happening, you may have days where you don't even have a shopper come in your store. And there are things they can do as well to create that demand. But as photographers, we can always get out there and make it happen. And so that's what I would tell those photographers is to create a plan for when things are slow and how you're going to generate revenue, especially on a small budget.
I tell people, well, look, if you're going through a slow time, use that time to plan for the future. Use it to work on things like SEO for your website or other tasks that you might have put off from different times. But, just keep positive and keep on moving forward as much as you can. So I would definitely agree with everything that you just said on that. Now, I've looked at the book, Worth Every Penny. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I am really looking forward to reading this book in depth, and I know that you go into a lot of detail about just about everything that we've talked about here on this call today. But as we finish up, do you have any other thoughts or advice that you would like to pass on that can help photographers who might be thinking about taking their business to the next level with a boutique approach?
Well, I think the best advice I can give is to, take a look at your business from a high level and decide if you do want to approach it with this boutique business model. Just know that things have to be different, and different is okay. That's the first thing I tell customers and clients, prospects when they call is we are very different. We're a very different kind of business, and let me tell you how we're different. And then I go into that. So, I know that sometimes there's a lot of fear, but in my mind, there are so many commodity businesses out there. They just want a piece, of the pie. They want to do what they like to do. They're happy making a little money. Some aren't even making money. Some don't even know it. But just know that if you can get all of your pieces of this puzzle to line up, that you can have a successful business and you can get the clients who love you and refer you, and the first thing they ask isn't, well, how much is this? How much is that? Yes, they want value for their money, but they also really want something amazing. And if you can give that to them and show them why, you are going to thrill them and keep loyal clients for years and years.
Fantastic advice. Absolutely fantastic. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk with me. I know that you are very busy. I know that you're frantically getting everything together for the launch of this great book. And when will it be available? Is it? I know it's pretty soon, right?
Yeah, it's actually available online already. Mm-hmm. And then April 24th is the official launch date where it should be in everyone's bookstore. So if you want it now and you can't wait, you can go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble, and you'll have that baby before you even know it.
Fantastic. Okay, well, as usual, I'm sure that some people may have some questions for you, either about the book or some of the ideas that we talked about today. So, and I assume that they can reach you through the usual channels on the Joy of Marketing website or your Facebook page.
Absolutely. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We'd love for you to be a fan, a friend, and tweet out to us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fantastic. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope that everybody listening to this will go out and get their own copy of this book and start to make the transformation in their business to something that's going to be long-lasting and certainly worthwhile and profitable. And I wish you all the very best of success with it, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me, Nigel, and I hope it helps so many photographers because being in small business is just magical.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Have a great day, and thanks.
You too. Bye-bye.